What's up, family, and welcome to the True Faith Podcast channel, man. If y'all are new, make sure y'all go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Make sure y'all hit that like. Make sure y'all comment down below. If y'all have been here before, man, if this is not your first time, then welcome back. But if this is your first time, make sure y'all go ahead and do that so y'all can join us and be a part of this family as we continue to grow. I am your host, Ricky Tillis II, aka Deuce. Y'all already know. This is a little section I like to call Talking with Tillis. If y'all are new, y'all already know. Talking with Tillis ain't nothing new. We've been here, but we just was on a different channel, just a different section, location. But it's all good because we back and we popping and we rocking. Today, we will be exposing the fear that is holding us back. We all know it. We all have experienced it. So what exactly is it and how do we win the battle over it? First off, make sure y'all like, make sure y'all comment, subscribe, so that way y'all can be up to date every time I drop a new video, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a devotional, whether it's a fitness video, whatever it is, make sure y'all go ahead and subscribe, check that out. I'm going to start off by telling a story of one man's faith in God's vision and how it allowed him to overcome his fears, overcome his accusers of false accusations, and ultimately land him being second in command in Egypt. Our story begins with Joseph. Many of y'all know him. Many of y'all have heard of Joseph and his story, Joseph in the coat of many colors. Everybody knows the story of Joseph. Let's dive a little deeper into that for those who don't know. Joseph was the second youngest of 11 brothers. Joseph had the gift of interpreting dreams. As a young boy, of course, he was ultimately his father's favorite. His father gave him a cloak, as many of y'all know. It was a coat of a beautiful coat of many colors. Well, Joseph had the gift of interpreting dreams and having dreams and visions that God had blessed him with. Well, these dreams and visions actually got him in trouble a little bit. His brothers didn't really like that. They didn't really like him doing these things because his dreams, one of his dreams that he had, well, two of them actually, pretty much his brothers were swarming around him and they began to worship him and bow down to him. And once he told them that, they didn't like him because they're like, what? You're our younger brother. We're not about to bow down to you. What do you mean, bro? What you got going on, man? You crazy up here, son. I don't know why dad likes you. I don't know why dad gave you that jacket. You're not cool. You're not all that in a bag of chips. But so they came up with this plan or this plot. And what they did was they got one of their friends to call Joseph out to the fields, right? Thinking that his brothers were wanting him, thinking that his brothers was there. Well, once Joseph got there, his brothers was nowhere around. His brothers was nowhere in sight. Joseph was confused. They push Joseph into this hole, takes his jacket, throws a little bit of animal blood on it, take it back to their father. While Joseph is in the hole, they tell his dad that an animal has killed Joseph, has devoured him, and has left his cloak there with the blood. This is all that's left of him. So his dad is struck, is appalled. He's like, what's going on? Not my favorite son, not my only son, not my favorite son. So he's struck. Meanwhile, Joseph is still in his hole. His brothers take Joseph and they sell him into slavery. Crazy, right? And we think that today is crazy. We think that people today is jealousy. This is some real deal jealousy right here, what his brother said. So they sold Joseph into slavery, which landed him in Egypt, as a servant to Potiphar. Potiphar was this ruler. Potiphar was this big man in Egypt, had all the money, the big house, all that. Beautiful wife as well. Well, while Joseph is there in Potiphar's house, Potiphar examines Joseph and he realizes that Joseph is actually smarter than most people there. Joseph also has these dreams and interpretations and he's able to help Joseph out. So you know what he does? Brings Joseph into the house, has Joseph to, take care of things at the house. He ends up working his way up to second in command over everything Potiphar has, right? Right. So that's not pretty bad, right? Pretty good gig. Joseph's brother sells him. He ends up in Egypt, second in command over Potiphar's house and all of that, right? wrong. Let's see what happens. Well, one day when Joseph is doing his duties, going in and out of the house, taking care of business, Potiphar's wife corners Joseph. Yeah, Potiphar's wife. You heard me right. Potiphar's wife corners Joseph and tries to entice him to sleep with her. Many of us men wouldn't think twice, about doing it. We not Joseph. Joseph was a righteous man after God's own heart. Actually, that was David, but Joseph was also a righteous man, and he wasn't having that because he knew this is not what Potiphar has hired me to do. This is not why I'm here. This guy, what's going on? So Joseph gets up and flees. He gets out of there. He beats feet. He goes, but in doing so, he leaves his cloak behind. He leaves his jacket behind, where Potiphar's wife is able to grab it and she lets out a scream. When she does that, her guards rush in. What do they see? They see Potiphar's wife. They see Joseph's cloak. She says, that Hebrew, that boy that you brought here to help us, tried to throw himself on me, tried to sleep with me. He tried to take advantage of me, put it that way, for lack of better words. As we see that now, we see that today, which is crazy. That the same thing that we see going on today happened over 3,000 years ago. Well, actually, it was longer than that, because this is Old Testament. But it was still relevant today. So what happens? Potiphar, once hearing this, is heated. He is inflamed, as I'm pretty sure all of us as men would be if our wives tell us that something as this occurred. So what did he do? He takes Joseph, throws him into prison. There, while he's in prison, he spends his time, serves his time, and he eventually works his way up into being in control or being in charge of all the prisoners there. It's crazy, right? How he goes from bad to worse in every situation, and it just keeps getting worse from there. Bad to worse. So he ends up in prison, in the inner prisons actually, and there he's worked his way up into being the second in command or in charge over all the other prisoners. So while Joseph is there, he meets two guys, two people who are also in jail with him. One is the baker and one is the winer. These people were working inside of the palace, I guess that's what you'll call it, with the Pharaoh. They were both imprisoned. Well, while in there, both of these guys had dreams, and Joseph was able to interpret both of the dreams and tell them what the meaning of these dreams were. One of them was one of them, the dream meant that he was to be sentenced to death in a couple of days. In about 2 days, he was going to be hung and killed. The other one, his sins would be forgiven, and he would be taken out of prison and brought back into the palace with Pharaoh. So while Joseph is telling these dreams to these guys, they don't really believe it. They take it with a grain of salt. 2 days pass, dreams come true. Exactly what Joseph says. One of them is sentenced to death and is killed. The other one is taken out, taken back to the palace. Joseph has one thing to say to the one that's taken back to the palace. Once you make it out and make it back, do not forget about me. Tell the Pharaoh about me, so that I too can be released from this prison, because I was falsely accused of something that I didn't do. So help a brother out, give a dog a bone. Some time had passed from this. Between this time, the Pharaoh, the prisoner that had gotten out earlier, had forgotten about Joseph. So now Joseph is still down here in jail, still locked up, slaving away. Some time had passed. The Pharaoh is starting to have these crazy dreams. He doesn't know what they mean. He can't sleep. He can't eat. He's just in distress. So he calls all the magi, all the magicians, all the wise men of the kingdom, all the wise men of the land. Brings them in. Hey, can anyone of y'all help me? Can anyone of y'all help me interpret this dream? Tell me what this dream means. If anybody knows what it is, tell me what it means, and it's true, I will give y'all riches, gold, whatever you want. Nobody's able to interpret the dream. Nobody is able to even get close to understanding what these dreams mean. Then the cupbearer, the one who was in prison with Joseph, remembers, goes to Pharaoh and says, "Hey Pharaoh, I know a guy. He told me about my dream and it came true. I met him while I was out in prison." he might could be able to interpret your dream for you. So what does he do? He goes and gets Joseph, brings him into the palace. Not only is Joseph able to interpret the Pharaoh's dream through the power of God, but he's able to warn him of a 7-year abundance. So there were going to be 7 years of wealth and abundance in the land of Egypt, followed by 7 years of poverty and 7 years of famine. So once Joseph was able to interpret this dream, Joseph is placed in charge over the entire land of Egypt. Not only is he in charge of the entire land of Egypt, but he is able to come up with a plan to put some grain or put some back in reserve throughout those 7 years of abundance, so that once the 7 years of famine come, they are able to continue to prosper and continue to thrive. Not only was Joseph able to put back enough for the famine, but he was able to put back more, so they had more than what they needed. So once the 7 years of famine came, everybody throughout the surrounding lands of Egypt had to come to Egypt to get grain and get food and things like that, because there were famine everywhere else and they had not been prepared as Joseph and Pharaoh was. So in doing that, and what's crazy is Joseph is 30 at this time. All this has happened while Joseph is in his 20s. So just imagine that. Imagine when you was throughout your 20s. If you're not 20 yet, imagine in your 20s, you spend your entire 20s in jail, away from your family, you know? That was Joseph. For just getting falsely accused, starting with his brothers, Potiphar's wife, everything just continues to happen to Joseph. And yet he continues to stay faithful to God. He continues to press forward, and he continues to not be afraid or not let his fears consume him or hold him down. But he looks past his fears at the vision that God had for him, as well as the vision as where God is going to take him and lead him. He remembered the vision that God had given him. And he's like, well, if all these other dreams are coming true, I'm sure that mine will come true. I just have to stay faithful. I have to stay loyal. I have to stay committed to whatever this process is, no matter how long it takes. And that's where a lot of us are today. No matter the vision that God has given us, we don't know when we're going to get there. We don't know when we're going to get there or how we're going to get it or how quick. But we just have to stay focused. We have to keep pushing. We have to keep fighting, and we have to keep going, because we never know. We could be like Joseph and just keep going, continuing bad on top of bad, and eventually it'll get good, or we can just throw our hands up and say, forget it, I don't want it no more. So after, as we can see, Joseph has a lot of ups and downs, and I'm sure he was fearful from the moment that he got there to the moment to this point, but he still remained faithful. And what's even crazy is, so here's how God works. God is able to take what Satan meant for evil, and he's able to use it for good. Joseph's brothers sold Joseph into slavery to try to get rid of him because they did not like him or his visions, or that their dad loved him more. So they sold him. They tried to get rid of him. Joseph is over here in this land doing his thing, prospering, second in command. His brothers are over here in famine, no food, no water, nothing. So you know what they have to do? They have to come over here to Joseph, to Egypt, to get food. So what was the initial dream? Joseph's brothers were going to bow down and worship him, right? Right. So as they come to Pharaoh and come to Egypt to get grain, Joseph instantly recognizes them. Instantly recognizes them. But they don't recognize him yet. So he comes up with this plan. He takes one of the cups, sticks it inside of their bag, and of course gets one of his guards to see it, and he accuses them of stealing it, even though he planted it there. It was all part of his plan. So he says, well, one of y'all have to stay here with me. I'm taking your younger brother. Go back home. He's like, the brother's like, no, you can't have our brother. You can't have our youngest brother, man. This will hurt our father if we allow this to happen. We lost one of our brothers, and it almost killed him. It almost killed our father. We lost him. We cannot lose this one. We can't do that to our father. Take anybody else but him. So he takes another brother instead. He tells him, go back and get your father. Come back. I won't let him go until you come back. So as they do that, they leave. The other brother's there. Joseph is distraught. He cries. He whimpers, and he reveals himself to the brother. Like, hey, I'm your brother, man. I had to bring the family here. So they come back with their father, and Joseph eventually reveals himself to them, reveals himself to his brothers that what y'all meant for evil, God meant it for good. If it wasn't for you guys selling me, I would not be where God wanted me. I would not be in the place where God had me to be. Y'all were looking at yourselves, but God was looking at all the lives I was able to save, all the people I was able to deliver over here. He took me from here. I don't think y'all understand, man. It's crazy because I have to experience that, and I have to tell myself this all the time, man. Because I feel like God gave me this vision for this brand, True Faith Unbreakable. But it seems like no matter how hard I work in it, I can't. The further the dream, the vision goes, but I still have the ultimate dream of where we're gonna be. It's just the journey of getting there. The journey is the true test. The journey is the true deciding factor. Are we going to ultimately get to that goal or not? The journey is the hardest part, but that's the best part. As we grow, we learn, we develop. Joseph, throughout that entire time, from being sold to being in prison to almost being killed to being delivered multiple times to now being second in command over the entire land of Egypt. That's only God can do something like that, man. Only God. And I know Joseph was fearful, just like we are fearful today. We continue to let fear hold us back from the simple things. But Joseph, he did not. Joseph stood strong in what he believed, in the faith that he had in God, and he pressed forward no matter what, no matter how many times Satan tried to get him, no matter how many times Satan knocked him down. He stayed faithful, he stayed committed, and he continued to press forward. We have to have that same mindset and that same attitude today, so that way we can not only accomplish the dreams and the visions that God has set for our lives, but we can be in a position that God needs us to be for the people around us. And that's all that matters, man. Uh, Persecution and difficult times can infiltrate our minds with doubt, but and we may fear that God will forget us, will forget to give us the inheritance that we have been promised in Ephesians 1 and 11. But when we stay faithful to God because of his promises to us, we can overcome fear and doubt. So in closing, man, we see that fear is normal. We see that fear is natural. Fear is something that we all experience in life. But through it all, we have to remember that fear is only an emotion brought on by thousands of unwelcome circumstances, i.e., a frightening diagnostics, a financial setback, or even a global pandemic, as we just saw with COVID. People were scared for their life. They were so scared that they was willing to take a drug that had never been tested before. For what? When all we have to do is just have faith in God, trust in him, trust in his plan and his vision. What's meant for us would be meant for us, and what's not will not. We have to stand firm and stand strong in our faith, stand strong and stand on the backs of doubt, stand on the backs of fear, and let them know that you will not overtake me today. You will not keep me from the goals, keep me from the visions, keep me from the things that God has for me. We have to stand forward and press forward and continue to move forward, because God is dependent on us. Not only is God dependent on us, but the people around us are depending on us. The possibilities are endless, but the results are the same. Stress, worry, and anxiety all overtake you. Fear. False evidence appearing real. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back. Fear is false evidence appearing real. So, what is the main root of fear? Simple. It's a lack of faith, not believing in God's power nor his love for us. If we have faith in God and that he can overcome anything that is placed in front of us, we have no reason to be fearful. We have no reason to give up or to doubt ourselves. Continue to press forward, continue to have faith in God, continue to trust in him, and watch how he fights your battles. Watch how he helps you to overcome, as he did with Joseph and many others. Many others. There are countless examples in this Bible. So the lesson that we can see today is trust in the vision. Whatever vision God has given for you in your life, trust it. Trust him. Let him use you for the glory and betterment of the kingdom, and watch you go above and beyond we can ever fathom on our own. Through the fire, we remain focused, Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war breaks out against me, even then I will be confident. Ooh, powerful. Let me say that one again. Through the fire will remain focused. Though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war breaks out against me, even then I will be confident. Psalms 27:30. So that's it for this video, fam, man. I hope y'all enjoyed this one. I hope it wasn't too long. If y'all stayed to the end of this video, man, thumbs up, please. Give us a like, give us a follow. Subscribe to the channel, man. Continue to and share this video with somebody. If y'all are blessed by this story and blessed by the devotional for today, share this video with somebody so that they too can be touched and be blessed. And not let fear overtake them, or not let fear hold them back and keep them from the promises that God has for us. Let's stand strong. Let's stay focused. Let's continue to grow as a community, as a family, man. It's your boy Deuce. See y'all in the next one, man. Peace.